spaced out, great for reluctant readers and great for anybody who's improving their reading as well too. And then lastly, if you have an outdoorsy child who loves nature, a Wild Child's Book of Birds, this can be enjoyed whether you live in the countryside or if you live in the city in Ireland. It's really, really great because you can engage and spot birds wherever you are. And you can take it with you if you're going on holidays, if you live in the city and going down the country or back and forth, whatever. It's a great way. And there's loads of nature related books. If you have an artistic child, you could try books about artists, craft books, drawing books, creative writing books, and even cookery books is a great one because you might get something tasty made out of that as well. So my next tip then, this one might be a bit controversial, but this is, I think, an important thing to remember, and that is that you can embrace technology. So one of the questions that was submitted early to Ruth was regarding how to balance technology with reading, and controversially, I am advising you to embrace it. I'm not saying to give in to technology, I'm just saying that you can use it to your advantage. And the thing about it is technology is not going anywhere. We're not going to go backwards where Netflix and TikTok don't exist, although we might go backwards to where Twitter doesn't exist, but that's not for children, I suppose. And I think that our CEO, Elena, put it best in the introduction of our most recent reading guide when she says, it's easy to demonize popular devices, but in reality, reading as an activity is competing with everything children and young people might otherwise be doing, from music to sport, learning languages, doing Lego, or just spending time with friends. And all of these activities are great. They're all important and they help young people to be active, to be social, and to think critically. So we need to fit reading in with that. You can't do everything all the time, so that's okay, but we cannot demonize technology because it only makes it more enticing as well too. So here are some ideas of how you can link technology with reading to improve or to help to encourage reading by linking it with technology. So first of all is using YouTube. So if you have a child that is a dedicated YouTuber, there's loads of ways that you actually can engage with books via YouTube. So for younger readers, I have Mr. Harry Styles here. CBeebies bedtime stories are really accessible. They're totally free via YouTube. And you can listen to a celebrity read an entire story. If you want, you could check them out, pick out a few in advance, go to the library and see if you can get those books so that you can read along with the celebrity. So the child will have the book and hear them reading at the same time. This is also a really great option if you would like to read to your child, but you struggle yourself with literacy, with dyslexia, or maybe reading in English isn't your first language, so it's a bit challenging for you at times. Doing this, your child is still getting a story and you can still join in with the experience without having to put yourself on the spot as much. So you're doing your best and it's a really great way to engage. Secondly, YouTube is absolutely full of promotional videos, interviews and activities with authors and illustrators. So most publishers nowadays have got a YouTube channel. This is Jeff Kinney here. He is the author and illustrator of The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which is a very, very popular series. So his publisher is Puffin. They have an excellent YouTube channel. It is absolutely full of stuff. So this video that I screenshotted here is actually a draw along. So it's where you can learn to draw, what's his name? Greg. And that's the main character. So you learn to draw Greg along with Jeff. But they also have read along for younger readers, and they have podcasts with authors for older readers as well who might like to engage with that. So basically, using YouTube in this way, you can get your child to engage further with something that they've already read, or you can hype them up to read a book by having a look at YouTube first, and then they're seeing something on YouTube, and then you're providing them with the book to read then afterwards. So lots of ways you can link books and YouTube. The second thing I would say for technology, embracing technology, is to really use audiobooks. So studies have shown that listening to a story stimulates the brain in a similar way to reading it. So just because your child might not actually enjoy reading themselves doesn't mean they don't enjoy listening to a story. And if they are over that stage of you reading to them, they might still enjoy somebody else or a celebrity reading a story to them. And audiobooks are a really great way of getting kids reading by accident, or tricking them into reading, as I say. So you could stick on an audiobook in the car. If you're doing a long journey, you could play an audiobook while you're doing a really boring task. Like suppose you have to do the washing up, we'll stick on the audiobook while we're doing that. Or if you're trying to keep their spirits up and they have to clean the room, you'd be like, okay, you clean your room, I'll stick on the audiobook to keep you company. So you could also, if you wanted, and especially good if English is not your first language, what you can do is play the audiobook along while reading it. So if you have the actual physical copy of the book, you can be looking at the words with the child as they come up and listening as well at the same time. So this is also a great way for children to learn the different ways that words might look different on the page and sound different to the ear. So pairing the two up is also a great option. For access to audiobooks, BorrowBox is great. So this is a free app that you can access through the library. So all you need is your library card, so once you have your library card, you download BorrowBox, put in your library card details, and your PIN is usually the last 4 digits of your library number. And on here, you can actually get ebooks. You can get newspapers, magazines for free. They will disappear off your device after a while, but they're on there for the same amount of time that you would have a physical book borrowed from the library. And because they just vanish off of it, you don't have to worry about returning them. And you can also get audiobooks on here as well too for absolutely free. So it's a great resource available through the libraries. And I hate recommending Amazon for everything, but Audible is a really good option. So with Audible, you don't have to wait for a book to become available like you do on BorrowBox. And once you pay for it, you have it forever on your device or on your app. So if you do have a bit of cash, it's about $9.99 per month. And you get 1 audiobook per month with that. So it is great. There's lots of children's book options on this as well too. And I'm not sure if you have an Amazon Prime account, it might actually already be included in that. So it's something worth checking out if you have one of those accounts. And another good way to embrace technology is by doing a page to screen challenge. So I actually went on to do a little bit of research for this talk. I went on to the kids only section of Netflix, which I don't have children, so I actually don't go on that ever. And there are so many book adaptations on Netflix. Pretty much all of the children's Netflix is some form of book adaptation. So what I would say to you is we need to stop making Netflix a treat thing or a forbidden thing, or you're reading instead of watching Netflix and one is a punishment. We need to even out the playing field here. So the best thing to do is to embrace it and to compare the page version of a book and the screen version of a book. So what I would say is to select a film or a book combination and then decide amongst yourself. So again, this is forming a little book club. You can do it with all of your children. You can do it with just one. Decide amongst yourself if you're going to read the book first and then hold out for the film or TV series, or if you're going to watch that first and then go back and read the book. If you can, try to read the book first, but that's your battle at the same time. So then I would say, watch the film through or read the book through, and whichever way you decide to do it, and then discuss throughout while you're reading or while you're watching what's different, what's changed, what are the positives of how they've decided to share the story in the page versus the screen, the negatives and the positives. And again, here we are engaging the critical thinking of your child, which is so, so important. And what I have noticed with this is that children feel very passionate about what is included and excluded from film or TV adaptations. So I've done this both ways, where I've shown children, like in the classroom, clips of a film and then read the part to them, or I've read first and then shown them the clips. Usually whatever way you go first is the one that they prefer. So by including Netflix in this way and linking it to their reading, you're taking away the forbidden nature of watching films and TV, and you neutralize it. So it's just 2 activities that you can enjoy together, rather than making it an either or thing. So venturing off the library list a little bit, Hilda is a great option. It's a fantasy graphic novel series, and there's quite a lot of Hilda books out, and it is a great series on Netflix. The Worst Witch is one of my old favorites. There was a TV series in the 90s, but it's since been updated as well. So you could nearly watch both of them and read all of the books as well. A great series. And Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events is both a film and now a TV series. So again, there's lots of ways to compare. And if you think about it, this is actually a question for the leave insert, the comparative, where you're comparing genres. So you're preparing them early, is what I would say. And then lastly, then for my tips for building a culture of reading at home is let the child choose. So where you can, let children choose what books they're going to read for themselves. You may have to intervene in terms of the content or the difficulty level, but where possible, do allow them to make their own choices about what they are reading. Even if the book seems silly or ridiculous to you, children are far more likely to read a book and finish it if they've chosen it themselves. And if you have ever read a class novel, no matter how good a book is, children will always hate it by the end. And if you've experienced it yourself, you'll know that to be true. And finally, an important reminder, it's okay if you don't like every book you read, and that goes for your child as well. So it's important that they know that they don't have to like every book. And if they truly do not like a book after maybe 2 chapters, 10 pages, whatever you set as the limit, you move on to the next. The library is free. There's plenty to read from, and you don't have to waste your time reading something that you don't like. So we're coming close on time, so we might go over a little bit just to get through our resources and things and to make sure you have time for questions. So just some points to keep in mind when you're trying to build and encourage this love of reading is that pride, age, and ability, sometimes these don't match. And often children are aware if they are reading behind their other classmates. So just keep this in mind and let them know, everybody has had 2 years of disrupted schooling with COVID, despite everyone's best efforts. So if your child is not reading at the same level that their older siblings are, that's okay. And it's totally understandable. And make sure that you create a shame-free zone for both you and your child at home. You won't achieve anything by shaming a young reader on their choice of books or their ability to read. So do try to be patient and open-minded, and equally don't shame yourself. It's, loving books, it can be a tough habit if you're not a natural reader. So don't judge yourself if you find it hard to encourage reading if you don't like it yourself. All you can do is your best. Then I would also say, don't gender books. Books usually have a gendered look on them because publishing is a business and they need to market to a certain audience. But I would encourage you to let all children read all books, particularly boys. They sometimes will veer against reading a book that has a main character as a woman, which is just silly because it's just a book at the end of the day. And lastly, I'd say be patient with creatures of habit. So if you notice a child likes to reread the same book over and over again, sometimes this is just their comfort read. If they're going through a lot of upheaval, maybe if they're being bullied at school or something like that, having one thing the same and having one thing that they can control the outcome of, like a favorite book, can be comforting. They will move on in their own time. So all you can do is make sure they know there are other options and leave them to it. Okay, I'll whiz through the resources for you. So first resource is our website, which is www.childrensbooks.ie. We really are here to help. On the website, it's got lots of resources in the our resources and in the our recommendations section. So we have themed reading guides and reading lists. This is our most recent reading guide, Reading Matters. All of our guides and lists break down books into age categories, give you a little blurb and tell you who might enjoy it, what age it's for. We've got longer form reviews if you're looking for specific books, and we've got themed things on, say, historical books, adventure books, and funny books. And the Reading Matters guide has the best books of 2023 in it. We also have our magazine Inish, which is available online. Here, there's more articles about book-related things and further reviews as well. And if you're really stuck, you can always make an appointment with one of our book doctors. This is me here and on book doctor duty. And we provide bespoke prescriptions for children. And they take their prescription and they get it filled at the library or the bookshop. And it's basically a list of books that they would enjoy reading based on what they tell us they like, their hobbies and things like that. So we do travel all around the country. There's a team of book doctors. So you can keep an eye on our social media to see where we're headed next. Next, as a useful resource, never underestimate your local library. They're really great resources. They often have story times, author events, reading initiatives. So there's Spring into Story Time, which is story times at the library in springtime. In summer, they have the Summer Stars, which motivates children to read when they're out of term time. And often they'll have book clubs as well. So if you aren't a reader yourself, use your library, embrace your library, because your child will find somebody there who does enjoy reading, and they'll find a way to foster it that way. I know one of the questions that Ruth had in advance of this session was with regards to bilingual families, or if English is not the language that's spoken at home. So just to say that all libraries in Ireland have a section of books in translation for adults and for children. And sometimes in the children's sections, they'll be English and maybe the other side is in Polish, so you can read in both languages. And the best thing about it is that the library system in Ireland is entirely centralized. So if you go in and you find that your language is not in that section of the librarian will usually be able to order it in from a different library around the country. So it is a great service. It's totally free, and do keep a lookout for it. And then for early readers who are just starting school, make sure you get your My Little Library book bag. So this is an initiative for children starting school, and they get 3 or 4 free books, a little postcard, and they all the little stories in it are about starting school. So it's a great resource. And if you have an older child, then if you go on to the Dublin City Public Library's website, which is www.dublincity.ie, you can find the Who Next library resource. So it basically tells you who to read next. So you go on there and you can type in Jacqueline Wilson, and it'll give you 4 or 5 other authors that your child might enjoy reading next. So it's great if you're stuck, or if you have a creature of habit who is looking for who to move on to next. So that is Who Next, as in who. So lots of resources in the library. Then if you are at the stage where your child is reading ahead, they're a really good reader, and you're afraid that they're going to come across books that are maybe inappropriate or just a little bit too advanced in terms of content, a lot of people will take a look at Amazon and Goodreads to kind of get to grips with the book maybe before they take it out of the library or they buy it. I would really recommend this website. It's called www.lovereadingforkids.co.uk. So that is a 4, the number. And here you'll see they rate books and also films and TV shows, just if you need it. And they give a synopsis of the book. They give you all of the publishing information. And then importantly here, they flag what age it is recommended for by parents and what age it is recommended for by children. So parents will always recommend an older age and children will always recommend a younger age, I've noticed. So it's just a really good one to give you an idea of content and suitability. And great as well too, at the bottom is they have this other, so I put Spirit Snatcher by Kat Gray. They have some other books here that if you read Spirit Snatcher and you enjoyed it, you could try next, which is very, very useful. So great book for just filtering the content, I suppose. Next, if you have a dyslexic reader or a reluctant reader, to be honest with you, who struggles with reading but doesn't necessarily have a diagnosis, I'd recommend checking out Barrington Stoke. So that's www.barringtonstoke.co.uk. And I know one of the questions we had was about supporting dyslexic readers. So Barrington Stoke are a specialist dyslexia publisher, and they use techniques which are, they get dyslexic readers to test out their books before they're published. So they have a specially developed font. They use shorter paragraphs. They format the book slightly different, lots more illustrations. They've got thicker off-white paper, so there's no glare, and other features they put to make the book super readable for dyslexic readers or just reluctant readers who struggle with reading. So here are some examples. This one, Elizabeth and the Box of Colours, is in your libraries. And they've got picture books, which is great if you are a parent with dyslexia. It'll make it a bit easier for you for story time. Then the Little Gems are kind of for improving and improving readers. Then they have books for confident readers, and they also have books for teen and adult, which includes some novels that teenagers might cover in school in an abridged, easier to read version. They've also recently uploaded a really interesting resource pack, which is available for download, and that is all about creating accessible and inclusive reading spaces. So if you want to check out their website, you'll find that all there, and you'll be able to look through the different types of books. It's basically a high-low approach. So a book like this might have the reading age for a 6 or a 7-year-old, but it could have the reading interest age of an 8 or 9-year-old. So they make that clear on the website, so you know you're getting something right. And also on that, this is bookshare.ie. So this is a really great resource from the National Council for the Blind, and it's an online library resource. So this is for the use of people who have a visual impairment. So if you have any children in your life who have a visual impairment, it's really, really great. But is actually very kindly open to children and students who have a diagnosis of dyslexia as well. So it's a great resource, and a lot of Irish publishers have collaborated with them here, and they provided their back catalogues. And basically, it gives access to books, and you can download it into whatever format you need or is best for you. So maybe it's a bigger font, maybe you need high contrast, maybe you need off-white, or maybe it's that you need an audiobook. So it's really great because it has all of those options there for you in whatever way is most accessible. And they actually also have textbooks as well too available here. So that might make it easier for school or for college even. So that's bookshare.ie. Now, so I whistled through those. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to ask me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I think we have one question in the question box.
Yes, we did before the thing dropped off, so I'll just repeat it now. The question was about the book challenge that you would do with your child. So like, the Battle of the Books. And the question was how you were kind of saying it's okay if a child isn't necessarily enjoying a book, but they need to give a valid reason as to why. And the question was, what is a valid reason? What is, I suppose, a good reason versus a not so good reason?
Oh, that's, I mean, it's up to you, really. When I say they have to give a valid reason. So I worked with a lot of really reluctant readers, and I worked with a lot of all boy classes as well, too. So I would say that to them, they have to give me a valid reason. So that meant that they couldn't just say it's stupid, or it's useless, or books are crap anyway, or it's just silly. There had to be a because after that. So you could say it was stupid, but they have to give me because the characters are really annoying. I don't like the illustrations. It's totally okay for them to not like the book, but they have to give a good, they have to back up why they don't like it. So maybe they'd be like, the story starts out good, but it gets really boring in the middle, and I don't know how you would, when you get to the end of the chapter, you don't want to read on. So you decide what's a valid reason, but it just has to have a because, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's perfect. And it's all kind of about validating their voice. So like, as long as they're being heard with the reasons that they provide, that's important, not to just kind of just shut down a reason if you don't think it's valid, but they do see that, okay, this is a genuine reason as to why I don't like it, because it will inform what kind of books they would enjoy later on. And
exactly. So like, if they give you a reason, like, I don't like it because I hate stories about time travel, you'd be like, right, well, we just won't read any of those anymore. That's fine. So like, it is great for informing. And I will find that they will be passionate about what they don't like at first. And they might find more things to not like than to like. But the more they kind of get into the swing of it, they'll slowly start to see positives. And even if you challenge them to say one, negative thing, but they have maybe one positive thing, they'll usually start to build up that skill then. So it's about kind of like, it's totally fine if they don't like books and if they don't like that book, but you will find one that they do like. You just need to give it patience.
Super. That's great, Ruth. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? If you would like to unmute your microphone, or you can pop it into the group chat. Though I do think Ruth has covered so much in such a short amount of time. And if you maybe don't have a question right now that you can think of, but you maybe are going away and you think of a question later, which is always the case, you can drop us an email to Children's Books Ireland, not children's, so book gifting at Children's Books Ireland, and we can run the question by Ruth and answer back over email. Or if you want to contact your school and chat to them and ask them a question, they can pass it on to us as well. But I think that kind of covers everything. So yeah, we might leave it there. Thank you so much, Ruth, for your wealth of knowledge. As always, I'm blown away. And I always come back with like something new. I've learned something new again today, which is always really, really reassuring. But yeah, thank you so much for everyone for attending. We will have a couple of more workshops over the coming weeks, and we can forward on the PowerPoint presentation if that is helpful for you. And this was also recorded, so we will be sharing all of the videos back at the end of November thereabouts, with every recorded session between now and the end of the month. So if you have any questions, you can just drop us a line. Super. Thank you so much, guys, and have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed.